Welcome to Crucible Radio, your show for all things Destiny PvP. We are back this week. We are talking about all sorts of things. We got a great show ahead of us. But first,
well, we don't know that it's going to be a great show yet. Well,
come on, birds. Let me at least hype it a little.
Sorry, I hope it will be a good show. I'm comfortable with you saying that.
Okay, it's going to be a good show. All right.
Wow. I feel so pressured. I'm a little stressed right now. I don't perform well when someone demands me to make a good podcast. I'll probably, yell at someone and leave halfway through. We should do after our exotic armor report card trilogy, we should do a report card grade of every episode of Crucible Radio thus far.
We're going to play back episode 54 in its entirety and then give our thoughts at the end. Actually, we'll have live director's commentary.
Wait, let's test out how that would go, okay? So this is commentary over episode 71 of Crucible Radio. I'm going to play the clip and Birds do the commentary. Anyways, so with Inferno,
so now what you have to understand is that Bonesy was going through kind of an interesting time in his personal life right now. It's way to remember that when he was talking about that. I mean, you can hear sort of the stress in his voice. And that was actually the week we first started talking about sandwich theory.
Right in front of you.
Now,
you can think
this actually reminds me of the time in episode 32, if you go back and listen.
Birds, this also reminds me of the time we talked about cheesesteaks at the end of this episode.
Now, so a lot of ways you go cheesesteaks. Depends what kind of cheese you want. People are telling me Wiz is legit, but I'm starting to sense that real Philly people kind of turn their nose up at Wiz.
But I'm going insane right now.
Quality radio.
There you go, guys.
That was pretty good. I was pretty coherent. I want to give myself some points and give you guys some points. That sounded like shit to everyone listening, but we had fun and we did it. We did that bad bit very well.
Yay.
Let's we got a weird energy going on right now. We got a chip on our shoulder. Let's shake it off. Hi. My name is Famous Birds, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Mr. Bones.
Hello.
Mr. Dry Bones 81.
Please call me Bones.
Swain Stash.
You know Swain.
That's me.
Everybody knows Swain.
David Swain Pumpkins. Any questions?
Yes.
What's your question, Birds?
What are the skeleton guys on the side?
Part of it.
Part of it.
Oh, God.
Wow.
Weird vibe.
We suck. What else is happening in Destiny? Okay, I'll just get to my one topic I have this week, which is I have weirdly fallen in love with the No Land Beyond, an exotic sniper rifle that you use in your primary slot that at one point everyone really wanted it to get buffed, which is a funny look back in the history of Destiny. But it was no longer the hype. I think it came out in Crota's End, Dark Below area. People got over it. There's some other fun things to play with. Now it's sort of like a novelty gun where the best of the best use it. KJ Hovey going flawless anytime he wants with it. But we were playing Trials last week, and I took it out for like the last 2 games because we weren't playing for Lighthouse. And I found out it was awesome for Spooky Trials. And I played it for the rest of the weekend. I didn't use a different primary on all 3 characters, did like 5 more tickets, and went flawless 4 times out of that. And then this week I was playing some, doing the quests so I can get that blue shader, and I got to fill up candy bags while wearing a mask in the Crucible, whatever. And I was playing some zone control, and I was like, I wonder if that was just the game mode or a weird fluke I had. I want to see if I still play anything well with No Land Beyond. And I kind of did. I actually had some really good games in zone control, and I had so much fun with really trying to get the body shot and then switching to Party Crasher as they jump at me and being able to take them out from a farther distance because they were half health. And I really like that gun. And I feel like I've hit more snipes with that gun this weekend than I have since the weapon tuning in September. So I don't know, but man.
I now, some people like to pair No Land Beyond with a sidearm. You prefer the shotgun, which doesn't leave you a lot of options if you do a lot of missing.
Yeah, I do. I really do. And again, that was a decision for Spooky Trials because the thing was like, oh man, if people are going to sneak up on me on occasion, or if I really need to make a play fast for whatever reason, I want that instant kill on both of my guns. So if I got a body shot with no land in the first part of a round, I'd normally just like leave because, they weren't going to track me. They can't find me on radar. I was out of there. But yeah, I did like the shotgun more, and I did prefer to keep my party crasher in zone control. And I don't know. I think it, forces me to choose like which engagements are worth it. I think when I do use a sidearm or even a fusion rifle, or plenty of primaries, I try to overestimate the range because I'm like, I don't want to get close. So why not just take these shots from too far out? So either I hit a headshot at any range with No Land Beyond, or I just make sure I'm in shotgun range, which is my most comfortable range right now. So I think that's why I keep the party crasher on.
I remember one of the very first Destiny montages I ever saw. The thing that kind of like opened my eyes to the extent of PvP in this game was actually a montage from Campy that he was using No Land to great effect. And I remember like, oh, this gun is kind of a gimmick, but then seeing that and seeing what a person who knows how to aim it right. The aim for it's always been very unintuitive for me, but it can be pretty dangerous in the right hands.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe I just haven't touched my sniper in so long. And that's not literally true. I've played a couple tickets with Event Horizon and have a couple LDRs I've gotten, but it's not in my hands as often as it once was. And I feel like maybe I got away from the view of short gaze enough where I was seeing it in sort of a new perspective as a new thing. And so that helped me adjust to it as opposed to trying to use it like another sniper rifle.
Yeah, that aspect of No Land Beyond where it doesn't obscure your view outside of the scope makes such a huge difference, I think, just in your perception of it. I've never had a ton of luck really being effective with No Land, but I love the combat scope on Queenbreaker's bow for the same reason. You kind of retain your peripheral vision. It seems sort of better suited for kind of aggressive combat positioning than staring down even a low zoom sniper.
Yeah, without the what's the Instagram effect where you get the little dark on the corners of your screen? Yeah, exactly. You don't get that with No Land Beyond, and I don't know if that's a major. I'm not going to say like, well, it allows me to see a flank coming from the side. I don't think it's that helpful, but there is something about the open field of view that's maybe just a little easier for me. I don't know. I'm going to keep playing with it, and I am excited to try that out in a trials when the radar is back and when revives are back, especially since it can res snipe now, which is cool. But I'm going to keep playing with it, and I'm going to see how I feel outside of just Spooky Trials and then a couple games of Zone Control.
Well, speaking of Spooky Trials, we might get it again this weekend. We're recording on Thursday. Trials drops tomorrow and Friday. Who knows? Could be on Cauldron again. Could not be the same based on the overwhelming amount of people that were upset about it. But there was almost, I think Fallout did a poll on his Twitter. People liked it more so than they hated it.
Yeah, I think as these things go on the internet, there is always a very loud vocal minority, and we don't have the exact numbers. Twitter polls are just whatever, but it was interesting after getting such a strong tone, especially from people I follow on Twitter or retweets I saw of like, no, this is stupid, blah blah blah. Yeah, and you don't have to love it. Certainly, you can totally be excited to go back to normal trials. But Fallout's poll and Pope Bear's poll actually hit another one, and he put it as a few more options where he could say, you love it and you want trials to stay like this, or maybe you had a lot of fun, you'd love to see other tweaks, or you want to see different tweaks, just not these ones, or maybe you just didn't like it. And that was in that order. That's how the votes went. So I was pretty happy to see that a lot of people were excited about it, and a lot of people were like, yeah, man, I was down, and I'm excited for other things. They weren't necessarily obsessed. And then, so to follow this whole Twitter conversation this week, people have been tweeting at Derek Carroll, and he's loves to he loves to be funny on Twitter and give people vague answers, which are just so entertaining. But someone had asked if he was thinking about other things, if they were going to change other things and pull in variations to Trials, and he said yes in all caps, and that was it. So we might have some things to look forward to over the next year in terms of Trials, and that gets me real excited.
Yeah. Look, even if it's not a particular variant that I happen to enjoy, anything that just sort of mixes it up over what's going to be probably a pretty long stretch of no new content to tackle is fine by me.
Well, yep. Always interested in what's coming, but it's so relieving to know that, like, hey, maybe it'll switch it up this weekend.
So I got to play Trials this past weekend with one of our favorite people.
Yes.
One of a very big lover of Inferno and working setups and thinking way outside
Don't say
the
too
box.
much. Outside the box.
Yeah. About the game type was Fizzer. Got to play some Trials with Fizzer and our buddy Contacts. And I will say this. I am stubborn. And I didn't realize how stubborn I was.
This will be good.
Until playing with Fizz.
Go on.
Because he's very, very vocal about when you do something wrong. And at first, it's hard to take, sometimes it's hard to take criticisms with, like, oh, I always do this, but this is my play style. He's very, very specific about what he wants you to run and where you need to be and what you need to be using. So we started off, and he kind of like, looked over both me and Contacts' loadouts and said, here's what I suggest. And, after playing a lot lately and a lot of other game types, I'm kind of like in the zone of what my build is, and I like using a hand cannon with plan C. And it was kind of like, yeah, I'm going to go in the Trials and use this loadout because I'm so used to it. And so we started a few off our first ticket, and we did awful. There wasn't as much, there wasn't as much communication as we wanted. We'd be caught out. Someone would get killed or picked off going to bridge. And there was a lot of, it was frustrating. It was frustrating as always, like to lose your first ticket. But we kind of regrouped. Fizz was like, here, take my advice. We're going to go into a private match real quick. We'll talk about the angles. We'll talk about where you need to go. And so we load into a private match. We start talking about loadouts. He was very big about saying, you need to be fast. You need to have as much agility as you possibly can. He was more so, saying that for our Warlock and Contacts. But because I was playing a Titan, I'm pretty fast either way. But he wanted us to use Mida or a similar scout rifle. And he uses a sniper rifle. He doesn't really care as much about your secondary as long as you have a scout rifle in your primary. And from there, we started talking about setups. Setups were big in this map, especially with this game mode, because so to lay it out, he would say stairs on the red side is the strongest point of that map. You have so many angles that you can cover, and you can see everything from there. And no matter whatever spawn you're on, if you can rotate to red stairs, that's where you want to be. And especially if you are executing some sort of, search and destroy type of thing where you need to find that last person on the map, or you need to find the rest of the person's team when you have one down. We would circle back down to red stairs if we could And because the setup is so strong there, you can have one person at the bottom of the stairs and one person would be up top near the lantern. And then one person would be by the way back, the pillars, looking down the two angles. So someone would go to that first door, check the middle, and you kind of had every single angle covered. So no one could sneak up on you. You always had the first sight when it came to someone's movement on the map. You would either see them in mid, you would see them in the blue room, you would see them go in the bridge. One of your three always had sights on at least one or more people. And then you can kind of figure out your plan from there. You could be like, all right, I see three on this side. Everybody rotate back to me. I see three on this side. Everybody rotate back over this way and come help me out. Or we would say, all right, there's three over here. Everybody keep rotating around the map so that we can get a better position and fight all three at the same time. As soon as we started executing our setups and communicating based off of those three locations, no matter what part of the map we were on, we stomped. We did so well through that last ticket, and it was night and day. It was such a fun trials ticket at that point because we were in sync. We were talking about call outs. We were talking about what we see, and it just made this version of trials so much better.
There's a lot to unpack there, especially with, any second you check out Fizz's stream, there's a lot to unpack. And
yeah,
he talks a great mental game and can explain it very well. But yeah, I mean, just jumping off the last thing you said, rotating and stuff like that, or calling out if you're the guy flanking, you're like, hey, they're all with me, they're all with me, get over here. Not engaging with them until your teammates are around you. But I realized halfway through the weekend that I have all but forgotten to call a rotation in trials, which is weird because I know that it needs to happen and I call it all the time in sweats, or another teammate does, and I'm like, yep, exactly, you're right, let's go, and we rotate over here, we get back to full strength, whatever we need to do. And I don't know why that doesn't happen as much as trials. I think part of it is feeling like you need to stare at a revive. But with this weekend, but in all weekends, I realized, I'm like, man, we've spent like 25 seconds poking out of this one side of the map, going like, I'm going to shoot you. No, I'm going to get my health back, and now I'm going to shoot you. Oh, I'm here, but I'm going to shoot you first. And it's like, no, that's not going to work, and it's never going to work. So just being able to all agree as a team, like, go, like, let's flip sides. There's a game I want to review and put it on YouTube where we literally have that stair side and we're like, this isn't working, and we just run all the way back through the heavy room, all the way through C and all the way to the back, and then the other team's at red stairs and we're on the other spot. We just like flipped sides, and that's fine because now it's a fresh engagement and you're not worried about who's at half health or who's doing what, so it's totally fine.
And the other thing was, you have to be able to trust your entire team. At first, because of our loadouts, he felt like he needed to watch over us because, and this is something I never really think about, he was very adamant about not using a hand cannon because the field of view on a hand cannon is very small. And I just, like, it didn't dawn on me until he mentioned it that, like, yeah, I can, like, someone can sneak up on your sides and you don't notice it with a hand cannon because you are using a hand cannon. You're not going to be able to see as far with it. But like the like field of view on a scout rifle is much larger and you can see much more around you. And like, just simple like that, he would say like, all right, we can all three of us be in different places. We don't want to be bunched up. And that was one of the biggest problems we had at first, was like, we were bunching up. We were getting like, we were both looking out the same door. And if you're not all covering parts of the map, you end up with, blind spots. And that's how people sneak up on you.
Yeah, it's like I said last week. Like, I hate standing next to someone in trials. If I'm shooting through the same door that my teammate is, I'm like running away and going like, oh, this feels bad.
So I'm gonna take all of these tips that Fizz gave me this week, and hopefully they do it again. I would love another weekend of spooky trials, and I'm going to apply it with some other people. Maybe not just like maybe I got to play with Fizz again, but I'm gonna try it with a fresh team and say like, here's what we need to do. Here's our setup. Identify the strong point of the map and kind of, go from there.
Swain wants to be the dad now.
Yeah, I'm the dad. High agility or else boot you.
I mean, high agility and might is not a tough sell, but
oh, fast like Sonic.
All right, guys. Well, we should talk about some Titan exotics. But before we do, let's give a little shout out to our sponsor this week, Dollar Shave Club.
Yay!
Oh, what?
A Dollar Shave Club, Swain.
Huh, nice.
I've been on the Dollar Shave train for probably about 2 months now, and I'm never going back. It's a fantastic shave, but the thing that really brings it home for me is the products that you get in their starter kit. In particular, the Dr. Carver's Easy Shave Butter. I'll never use anything else. It is the closest, smoothest, easiest shave I've ever had, even when it's, I've been waiting a little bit and I got some real stubble to carve through. It just glides through. My skin feels great afterwards. Followed up a little Dr. Carver's post-shave cream. You can't beat it. You can't beat it. Feel like $1,000,000. Smell good too. But that's not all. They got the razors. They've got the shaving products. But Dollar Shave Club has got everything you need to get your grooming game in check, man. We all got to be grown-ups now. They're going to take care of you. They got stuff for your hair, for your face, for your under parts, anything that needs to be kept feeling and looking fresh. They gotcha. So try it out. Trust me, once you see it, you're never going to go back. You're never going to buy some can of spray cream at the drugstore. So now's your chance. Find out why people love Dollar Shave Club so much. If you're not a member yet and you've never joined, now's the time. You'll get your first month of razors totally free.
For free.
For Crucible Radio listeners.
Ooh.
All you got to do is pay shipping, and after that, it's only a couple bucks a month. Just join today. Go to dollarshaveclub.com/crucible. dollarshaveclub.com/crucible. Swain, what is it?
dollarshaveclub.com/crucible.
What do you have to lose? Go check it out. Bones, where do they go?
dollarshaveclub.com/crucible.
Go to dollarshaveclub.com/crucible, you dummies. What are you waiting for?
All right. Down to brass tacks. That's the phrase, right? I've never said that out loud.
If you're looking for the exotic review, it's here.
Yep. Stop. Jump to here and continue to listen. Every week for the past 2 weeks, which is long enough to say every week, I think, we have been reviewing each class's exotic armor. Started out with warlocks. Last week we talked about hunters and those crispy frosties, which I have still to acquire. And everyone loves Bones of AO, and I think they're talking about me, but they're not. It's okay.
I've had a good 2 weeks of just being quiet for these segments because I don't really know many of the exotics for the other ones. Well, I haven't known any experience with them. And now I get to talk a bunch.
Yes, this week, Swain will be taking over and guiding us through our Titan exotic report card. And Swain, what are we talking about first?
Oh, man. So I kind of want to leave it off at the top here with what we decided to leave out. I'm going to blaze through it real quick, but I wanted you to know we talked about these, and there's definitely one or two in here that almost made it on, but that kind of gives you the idea that they probably weren't going to be that good anyway. So
if we include something just to talk shit about it, it better be really bad.
Yeah.
You gotta earn it.
I wanted to make sure that if there was a new exotic, it's in here, and I wanted to kind of keep it balanced. There's some boots, there's some gauntlets, there's some helmets, there's a chest piece. Obviously, get the whole get up. But we left out Alpha Lupi, the Immolation Fists, Ruined Wings, Insurmountable Skullfort, Saint 14, Glass House, Tychonaut, Peregrine Greaves, and Imperium Bellicose. Imperium Bellicose almost made it on because True Vanguard is a beast with it.
Makes it look good.
That kind of gives you the idea that there's one guy that's good with it, and pretty much it. So first up, I'm going to talk about the ACD 0 feedback fence.
You never remember that there's a bunch of letters before some of them.
Yeah. So these ones, I think King Koala has used these a bunch. And it's simply because as a Titan, you are often in melee fights that you are not going to win.
Because you skated way too fast and flew into
you
the middle of battle.
You get in there and you immediately go, oh shit. I am way too close to everything. These were kind of a good choice before some like the new ones came out. And it was always nice to be able to go in and someone gets a melee on you and they're already hurt. Because every Titan melee takes at least 2, and it's so short, and you're always at the losing side of this. So you'll discover throughout this exotic review that anything that has to do with melees is just kind of meh.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. And it's just because the class is just at a disadvantage when it comes to its melee reach. So the feedback fence has a perk called Wrath Conductors. Taking damage from a melee attack deals damage in the area around you. With that, you can skate in, get your fight on, and there's been some times I've gotten kills with this, but it's very, very few and far between. That's why we're going to give it a B-.
I'm going to give that grade assessment a very fair A+.
Oh, thanks.
I think you're being reasonable.
That's next week when we review all the Crucible radio episodes.
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
Okay.
All right, what's up next?
So up next is the Armamentarium.
I know this one.
The perk on that is called End Another Thing, and that's called that gives you an additional grenade charge. This was huge. Year 1 when it first came out. Like this is all I used.
The choice for year 1.
For the longest time, you had your grenades hanging off your chest here. It's a great exotic, no doubt. Having another grenade charge is amazing in situations where you're playing as a striker, or you're just being trolly like myself and using fusion grenades and really making people angry. But it's kind of phased back since we've gotten some of these better exotics come forward. And the Armamentarium, I'm going to give it an A+.
It is good because it's one of those that, crosses between subclasses. If you really love Defender and love trolling people with suppressors, go for it. But, the Armamentarium with lightning grenades or fusion grenades are 2 really effective strategies. It might vary between game modes, but I mean, man, there are some weekends and trials on stuff like Shrine where double lightning grenades will be my least favorite thing because it'll wall off everything and make walls of death. It's a handy exotic, and I love that you can use it on every subclass.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like because this would honestly be S tier. But like gaining your second grenade charge means you have to hold off using your grenades.
I believe with all these exotics, that second grenade does take longer to charge than your first grenade as well.
Yeah, not entirely sure about that, but I'm from what I experience, it's not as easy to get that second grenade fully charged. Mm-hmm. There's some game modes where I could see that being a thing because like the gameplay is a little bit slower, but for most situations, you don't always have both. So A+, Armamentarium, we love you. You'll always be there for us. Next up is a class specific. It literally has no other use except for one subclass. So it's the No Backup Plans. The Destiny Fun Police build. He actually put out a great vid today.
I would say it's not even just one subclass. It is like one very specific build within one very specific subclass.
Yeah.
You got to do it just right for No Backup Plans.
There's not too many exotics that demand a certain type of gun to be used. I mean, besides, reload speed on something, but this literally only applies to shotgun kills, which is interesting. So continue.
Yeah. Perk's called Force Multiplier. And shotgun kills trigger force barrier, and force barrier duration is increased. And whenever I play Titan as a defender, I was playing it some this week trying to finish off my Thorn bounty, and I almost felt bad not using that whole build. Whenever I switch to defender, I'm like, all right, well, do I have to pull my no backup plans out of the vault? I get a shotgun. Like, it's very, very niche. Very niche.
I mean, that being said, like, especially
niche.
When you're playing sixes as a no backup plans defender and you're running the Unbreakable perk and you're running Relentless,
yeah,
I feel like I've played sixes matches where I had my force barrier up literally the entire match. Like, from the moment I got that first shotgun kill, it was just over. I mean, when the difference between a headshot and a body shot and a hand cannon engagement can be the difference between who wins and doesn't, like, continually recharging overshield that you've got up for for a long time, that is absolutely huge. That's such a huge shift in your favor.
Yeah. No, I was, like I said, I was playing a little bit this week, and whenever I got force barrier to proc, I wasn't using no backup plans. Actually, I was kind of sticking to my guns and using another exotic. But whenever I got it to proc, I felt unstoppable. It was just like, all right, yeah, I got an overshield. Like, I never get that as a Titan. And I would be able to keep going in, keep warrioring at someone and finish off a kill because, I all of a sudden had way more health than they did. So, because it's such a very niche exotic, I'm giving it A, and that was a very tough A amongst us because even though you're playing on a subclass that's not as great as other ones.
I was gonna put an asterisk on that, but you know what? I don't even know because I'm looking at Titan stats for subclasses, and defenders seem to have a higher win rate than everything else right now, which is sort of baffling. Strikers still do really well in elimination and trials, but defender has higher win rates in Rift and Iron Banner and elimination, and it's control and skirmish and class. Yeah. Okay. So defenders are pretty decent, and that's very interesting.
I think it has something to do with like the players using it are using it because they know it. They know it inside and out.
Yeah. I mean, it requires knowledge. It's definitely not one that just gives you wins as soon as you equip it. But yeah, it's really funny. Even the exotic armor usage too, we haven't talked about, are very high. The armamentarium is incredibly popular amongst strikers and amongst sunbreakers. But you click on that defender and you've got a few people using Twilight and everyone else using no backup plans.
Yep. It's the way to go. Moving along though, here's another pair of gauntlets. And they're very new to Rise of Iron. I think they were in the armory for the longest time, and everybody was like, where can you get these? Like, where maybe it's a secret when you beat that one. It was at that one Cabal leader in the very beginning of Taken King that looks like he's wearing them. Everybody's like, oh man, maybe it has something to do with him. Kill him, you get these Thagamizers. But Thagamizers, they're the big spiky gauntlets that look like they could probably accidentally kill you.
Do you guys know what a Thagamizer is?
No.
I just looked it up on Wikipedia. Of course
I do. That's why I'm letting you say it.
Yep. I appreciate that. I know you don't like to show off.
I hate to do it.
A Thagamizer is the distinctive arrangement of 4 to 10 spikes on the tail of a Stegosaurus.
What? That's stupidly specific.
There you go. And it's not like a reinterpretation of the word. It's just straight up called a Thagamizer. So I would say that's pretty accurate.
That's nice. So punk rock.
I love the way they name things. It's great. But the perk on this is called 1-2 Punch. It unlocks Amplify for free. It's the Striker subclass perk. And you get an additional melee charge. So we kind of talked about it already. anything to do with melees on Titans is already like, is this the way to go? But I honestly haven't got to use these too much. There's some coming up that I use all the time, and another one that I've given a lot of time to recently. But I can't really see these being all that great, other than looking pretty good, make you look like a stegosaur. Amplify's nice, but like I said, melees are kind of meh on a Titan, even with the Striker. Striker is probably the strongest melee.
I mean, I think when you have an exotic that is subclass specific for one, like you point out, it's melee for another, and it gives you a perk that is not a complete game changer. Even if it does that one thing real well, that's tough. Pretty limiting.
Yeah, so that's why we're gonna give Thagamizers a B. Not that great, not that bad, but very specific. Next up is the Eternal Warrior, which makes you look like a weird stone man.
I kind of like that. Kind of creepy.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course you like it. You like to make your characters look as ugly as sin.
I like ugly stuff. You got me.
You guys should ask Birds what his scuff looks like. It's so ugly.
It's on my Twitter, man. You can go look at it.
It's gross.
Breathtakingly ugly. I've grown fond of it in its ugly duckling sort of way.
So Eternal Warrior has a perk called Resolute, and that gains Unstoppable for your Fist of Havoc. And I didn't even know this because I don't ever use Eternal Warrior, but it doesn't give you the armor perk that comes with Unstoppable. So
I feel like that was the only reason to use Unstoppable over Jug or Shoulder Charge. Like, you pick between those. The only other reason you do that would be to get Max Armor Titan.
Yeah.
Without that,
I mean, like, Fist of Havoc is already really hard to kill someone out of. It's such a short animation. And even if you're using like the Death from Above, like getting a sniping someone out of Death from Above is probably like one of those like very rare like achievements in Destiny that I don't think that many people have done. But Fist of Havoc is already strong, so really adding more unkillability to it is it's really not that worth it when there's so many other good exotics out there. So I'm changing this. It was originally in here as a C, but we're gonna give it a D.
Swain pulling no punches.
Yeah.
Like, don't use it. Why use it unless you want to look ugly?
Yeah, don't use it. Well, you like looking ugly, you dummy? Don't use it.
Hey, my father was an Eternal Warrior. I take that personally.
There's gonna be one person out there that yells at me for that.
That is the treat for you this week. I should also probably point out, I got a lot of people correcting me on a little detail last week. Kefri Sting does not give you the primary reloader anymore. That was year one only.
R.I.P.
My grade is even lower now. R.I.P. All right, Swain. We got like some good exotics in here you're excited to talk about, right?
Saving the best for last. So
okay. Give me a good one.
All right, this good one came out with Rise of Iron. Looks sexy AF, and
true,
gives you some awesome perks to boot. These are the Dune Marchers, and when these came out, I think it's the first exotic I got in Rise of Iron. Immediately equipped them after months and months and months and months of using the Twilight Garrison. Having these on was very, very weird. They grant you a perk called Speed Demon. Increase sprint speed, increase movement speed while aiming your weapon, and a tighter turn radius while sprinting. This absolutely changes your entire way of playing. Like, putting these on just bumps everything to 11. I had to turn down my sensitivity because of these, because I was just moving way too quick, and it was changing my aim. It was changing the way I strafe. Everything. It was absurd how quickly you can move with these. And there would be some situations where I'd be running away from someone in trials or trying to get away from a gunfight so that I could get my health back. And I would create these situations that, like, I know for sure in my mind I would have died before. And they just grant you all of this great movement ability without you even think about it. And that, like we said before, having those passive, like, they're just there all the time perks is what makes an exotic a great exotic. And the Dune Marchers, so good. But you have to be prepared to completely change the way you are used to playing.
You know, it's interesting looking at this from a hunter perspective. I've not gotten Dune Marchers yet. I haven't got a chance to try them, but all of these perks exist sort of in combination. Like on Hunter, you know, Frosties give you the tighter turning radius. Radiant Dance Machines give you the increased movement speed while aiming your weapon. You know, lots of ways to get an agility boost when you're sprinting. But to have all of them put together into kind of one cohesive exotic, I think is really cool.
Yeah, it's absurd that how much it's giving you.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the ground-based movement perk for Titans. I could see this being a really strong choice for Fizz type players that use Mida, that use snipers, that, you know, if you've ever watched Fizz aim, he's continually strafing side to side just in place, just being that much harder to hit. I could see this being the go-to choice for Fizz types on a Titan.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of the Dance Machines.
I think this will be probably maybe the most contended grade we give this week, and I totally see why, because, you know, straight up movement doesn't give you extra kill potential. We've all said why we like those passive abilities and stuff like that, and I have not taken off the Dune Marchers since I got them. They're really satisfying to me, but I think they go hand in hand with like a tactician's mind who treats Destiny like a war general versus just a brawler. Or, you know, you're going to find there's more to do with this if you know the movement exactly, if you play a lot of sweats, or if you are a Trials master who knows exactly how to cover a body. All of that's going to work out for you. But if you are just in there grinding, or if you just like getting as many kills as possible, or you're an aggressive player no matter what, I don't know if this is going to be as crucial for you. So I could definitely see why someone is not going to put this in like the super category.
Yeah, these will put you in situations, if you're not prepared for it, these will put you in situations you don't want to be in.
Yeah.
Being a Titan and being able to get somewhere quick is always great, but it often puts you in bad situations where you're like immediately regretting everything. I love these Doom Marchers, and we're going to give them S. For S
you
tier.
gave Armamentarium an A+, but you give Dune Marchers an S? Are you guys crazy? I mean,
it's almost as if there's different contexts for different exotics.
I mean, well, that's a good point, right? It is worth pointing out that these don't depend on a specific subclass choice, which for Titan exotics is a relatively rare thing. They don't depend on a specific weapon choice. They don't even, you know, depend on a specific grenade choice. You can literally use them with any build on Titan.
We're also not like the committee for grading on exotics.
The standard and poor of Destiny exotics. Market took a downturn after reports today that the Crucible Radio boys have bumped Dune Marchers from an S to an S-.
Oh boy.
Asian market's in panic as armamentarium is climbing in futures. I don't really know any of this stuff.
You said
plausible, though, right?
You know, that's playing at the top of your intelligence birds, and everything sounded like it would make sense to someone who knew what they were talking about.
Yeah. Good.
So good
I
job.
only need to know 1% more than the person I'm trying to fool. So
Yep.
I'll run with it.
Fake it till you break it. Anyway, moving on. We're going to talk.
Gave him an S.
we're going to talk about the MK44 stand-asides. Another great looking exotic with the perk Be Somewhere Else. Increases the duration of shoulder charge and tighter turn radius while sprinting. And if you listen to the last exotic, tighter turn radius while sprinting is nice, but why wouldn't you just use Dune Marchers? It comes with way more. And I mean, the increased duration of shoulder charge is nice, but I mean, shoulder charge is already a really long, proc. So I don't see this being too great. There was a point in year one where like I was in love with these because I was just like some crazy warrior who had a point 0.8 KD, and I just run at people and try and shoulder charge them. And that's all I would do because it was fun.
It is fun.
It is fun. You could, fun. I think you can go all the way around the outside the U, like on Firebase Delphi, with your shoulder charge proc the entire time, from what I remember. So I would just go around that all the time and just shoulder charge people. But I just don't see these being used, and I don't think you should use them because you can always just put on Dune Marchers and get way more for the same thing. So I'm giving MK44 Stand-Asides a D.
Burn for don't. just don't. This is an interesting one. I mean, because shoulder charge is a one-hit like melee kill. It's the melee that, you know, Titans wish they had 100% of the time. That being said, especially if you've not used it and more sort of been on the receiving side of it, killing people with shoulder charge consistently is a tricky one. You know, you've got an animation to contend with. If you miss, you're in trouble. And if you're playing, you know, you're heading into a crowd, you've now put yourself right in the mix with it. I make no doubt it is a powerful tool. But I think the people who really end up going with shoulder charge over Juggernaut are using it as much for navigation and as part of just like an incredibly fast flanking technique or just movement technique in combination with skating, where having that extended duration is not necessarily worth it because you're using shoulder charge frequently enough just to take tight corners and to have a sudden and sort of instant shift of momentum and get your skate back up to speed. That having that extra duration is not going to help you out so much. D's harsh. I would like to hear someone who really uses stand-asides like justify why you would use that over something like Dune Marchers.
Please do. I would love to hear.
I mean, when Swain gives an exotic the Sunny D, you got to stop and think about it.
Anyway, we got one left. One exotic.
I wonder
left.
What it could be.
We haven't talked about one of them yet. Come on. It's the Twilight Garrison. The best of the best.
It's a bold claim.
So as soon as Rise of Iron came out, I put Dune Marchers on and I gave it a solid month of use. And I just couldn't adapt to it. And I always found myself, because of how much I've used Twilight Garrison, I've always found myself that like I'd be in situations where previously I could get away. And I would just die because I was using Dune Marchers. And if they do give you all that speed, they do give you the ability to take advantage of situations. But I found myself back with Twilight Garrison this week. And for me personally, it just adds so much to my playstyle and so much that Titans just don't have. It gives you, as a perk called Tactical Air Support, gives you an in-air evade. And back when it used to be 2, it was amazing. Like, so good. It's only got 1, and it's got a cooldown, kind of like how you have Shade Step, but it's still so good. I do this thing all of the time where I get in close to someone, place a fusion grenade on them, and Twilight Garrison back just out of the explosion radius. And it's just so fun. And you can change, as a Titan, being able to change directions immediately is such a good tool to have in your arsenal. And I love it. And it fits my playstyle, and I'm sure it fits everyone else's playstyle because it just adds so much.
Gotta go fast.
Yeah.
So
you can actually steer these things too.
Yeah.
You can aim and control the direction it moves in that brief burst of movement. You can curve it a little bit, which is just so nuts.
The other thing is, it for someone that can master Titan skating, it immediately gets you into it. That whole like jump real quick with your Twilight and immediately start the animation for Titan skating. So good.
Yep, you're full momentum. I mean, to me, running Titan and not using Twilight Garrison is like, it's like running Night Stalker and not using Shade Step. Like, I'm either going to be using Shade Step or I'm using Graviton Forfeit to get Shade Step. Because when you can add another dimension to your movement vocabulary, and like one that's not very difficult to do, just tap, your crouch button twice, and you've got an instant juke on demand. I mean, this transcends subclass, it transcends build. If you're ever up in the air, if you ever jump, you want this perk.
Yeah. I found one of the biggest things I found when I switched to Doom Marchers with my loadout. I play Sunbreaker and I play Suncharge, and I found that Twilight Garrison, because it has that, ability to extend your skate or get you moving quick. I was using that so much to close gaps with Suncharge, like being able to get pop my Suncharge off to the side behind a box or something and then close the gap to people. I just wasn't getting it with the Dune Marchers as quickly as I can with Twilight. So we're going to give Twilight Garrison an S. I want to give it an S+. I love it.
An S for sure do think you should use it.
There you go.
An S for sweater in the color blue that you can never change in our public.
An S for Swain loves these.
That's what all the S's have been.
That's it, guys. That's it for Titan Exotics. If you feel like I'm terribly wrong, let me know. I'd be glad to talk it out with you and tell you why I should be using one of two of these.
Yes, feedback always welcome, and thank you to those who have caught a few things here and there along the way. Guys, I did think of two more brief topics we should mention. One is sort of like an introduction to a topic that we should cover on another episode. But someone on Reddit brought up to me, I'm sorry, I forget your Reddit username at the moment, but we're talking about Keen Scout, Graviton Forfeit, and the fact that there is an artifact that increases your radar perception, and I believe that's Galleon. But we have not mentioned in the last 3 weeks how, yes, certain artifacts may change your decision to use certain exotics. I.e., if you are going to use Memory of Fellwinter, you do not want to use an exotic that impacts your super. That would be negating its effect completely. Another side of it is I use Yolders exclusively, and I love Dune Marchers with Yolders because I am always running around and I can slide and move and jump, and I never get sprint locked, and I never slide and I never crouch when I want to push up with a shotgun and things like that. So I think that could be a whole other episode almost. We talk about the artifacts. I do want personally a lot more time with many more of them. I've been using Yolders, one, because I like it, and two, because light level has been a big thing. It still is.
I used Fellwinters for the Thorn Bounty, and I was surprised at how I was still able to move pretty well without Yolders.
Yeah. So there's tons of uses, and a lot of people have liked different ones. Scory is another one that I've seen plenty. So we will get our time in with those and definitely bring you guys our opinions on those.
Report
in time.
card.
Yes. I do just want to point out that was Reddit user Butt Dino.
Yes, thank you, Butt Dino.
Does he have a thagomizer on his butt?
No, it's Dino with a Y, some type of machine that measures butt horsepower, I can only assume.
The other brief talking point is, there's this cool thing that someone found, and I don't know who literally found it, but I think the earliest known credit goes to Morning After Kill. This is a cool little fact that you can actually wave off heavy in elimination in private matches. Elimination. That is a wonderful little thing. If you are playing elimination in a private match, if all members of each team wave at the beginning, you'll see a little indicator that something's crackling, and then it turns out the heavy ammo will not spawn. I think that's pretty cool. I think they should put it in all modes. Why not?
Yep.
Why not? But that's nice, and I do love that. They could have said, "Oh, here, go to this section in your menu to turn off heavy." Actually, it's a node to the world of sweats that really, define so much of why we do certain things with our characters, and it defines a huge portion of this community, a really important one that is something we always love to watch. I think that's so cool because I have already been getting nostalgic over the Searching 6, Eval 3.
Oh, man. So good not to have to do that.
And waving, hoping someone in skirmish wants to wave back, and then the other team waves back, and you don't play heavy. It's a wonderful little grassroots thing that is now a fun mechanic, and shouts out to Bungie for adding that.
It also makes you wonder what else is hiding in this game that we just haven't discovered yet.
Secrets, baby.
Oh boy, they're there.
Yeah, that kind of spooks me out sometimes, to be honest.
It's a big game, man. A lot of hiding places. You never know. All right, guys. Well, does that do it? Exotic sequence over. Another. You know what? Actually, I'm going to go back and listen to the beginning of this episode and agree with you when you say we do have a great episode for you. That's all right.
We did it.
Turned out pretty all right.
Pretty sure that's pretty good.
Pretty good.
That was a joke from last week, guys. Don't do it anymore.
Fuck.
Sorry.
Yes. Okay. Well, we're wrapping up the show. What are our usual announcements? One is that we've got some cool things coming up. I've said that before, but I mean it. We've got cool stuff coming up for the website, for another thing we are working on. Oh, this is exciting, right? I'm selling it.
Yeah, good.
And
keep selling the obscurity.
Some special guests. We have not had a guest in a couple weeks now, but don't you worry. We got some big names on the list, and it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah.
And wow, it's been about a month and a half, a little longer than that, maybe 2 months of Rise of Iron. It's pretty fun. I can't believe how much I enjoy doing the raid. We dragged Swain's butt through the challenge mode with his little light level last night. And I had the hypest play in the raid last night. I saved a clip in the raid. I felt so dumb. But someone went down who was getting the cannon on the right.
I was down for most of it.
But yeah, you had an excuse. I think your light level was 380?
Yeah,
when most of the raid. That's things hit you pretty hard at that level. But we lost a cannon. I picked up Null, and I took down 2 of the Null servitors, and I dropped the cannon, and I picked up Arc, and I shot it across the other side. Predicted the servitor coming around the corner and tagged in and dropped that down and ran middle. I dropped 4 servitors in 2 seconds, and we ended up finishing off the boss. And I was like, yes! But that was pretty sick. That is still an action-packed raid. But yeah, it's good. Destiny's good. I'm a shill.
Guys, I read farther on the wiki page. The term Thagameister was coined by Gary Larson in a Far Side comic.
Are you
in which
what?
A group of cavemen in a faux modern lecture hall are taught by their caveman professor that the spikes on the stegosaur's tail are so named after the late Thag Simmons. Yeah.
Wow.
That's what killed Thag, but it's the actual term now.
Oh, shit.
And now we've got...
I used to read books and books of Gary Larson comics back in the day when I was little.
Right. Why don't I have books of single pane comics?
That and Calvin and Hobbes. I have a ton of Calvin and Hobbes books.
Yep. Books of comics. That's something that should come back.
Yeah. Well,
or it's something that is definitely still in existence, and I just haven't paid attention to that world in a very long time.
We just grew up. Possibly what happened.
I'm gonna lead us out here. Make sure you check out crucibleradio.com. Leave us a review on iTunes. Check us out on Twitter. All of it's Crucible Radio. Check me out on Twitch. I'm making my comeback.
Yo, check him out.
2 straight days so far of streaming. Twitch.tv/Swain/. So much fun. So much fun.
And check out Crucible Radio. Twitch.tv/Crucible Radio.
Bonesy here is twitching from there now.
I streamed, baby. It definitely happened. And I had a fun time playing some 1v3 in trials and then 2v3s with Dakota. And we had a great time. It was a fun stream, and expect more of that.
Give a follow over there. If we're going to be doing anything on Twitch as a group, it'll be on that.
Yes.
Yeah. Who knows? Some interesting things on there. But
who knows?
Who even knows?
I don't even know.
I'm pretty sure. We've been so SNL the past 2 weeks.
Yeah,
just SNL jokes.
Watching SNL. Bad news.
All right, shut up. End of episode.
Turd Ferguson.
Bye.
You can't just yell Turd Ferguson at the end of a podcast.
It's more like
to Bill Brasky.
Turd Ferguson. That's funny. Turd Ferguson.
Subscribe to Crucible Radio.
Bye.
I walked away and closed that door. Didn't wanna go, didn't wanna stay. Does it matter anyway? I miss you screaming your love at me. It was the only time I believed. But you lost your mind, and I lost respect. Let's all forgive but never forget.
Musical guest, The Shero from across the pond in Sheffield, United Kingdom. Check him out at facebook.com/The Shero. And of course, we love hearing your music, and we love playing it on the show. Send us an email to crucibleradio@gmail.com.
Reels retained, you will never